All right, y'all. I'm gonna end this episode like I always do, showing love and shouting out. And today I want to shout out the man who is arguably the greatest player to ever come through the state of Mississippi in terms of basketball, and that is Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. Okay, when it comes to this debate in my lifetime, I've heard people only name three guys. It's been Mahmoud. It's been Malik Newman, most recently, and it's been Monte Ellis. Okay. Uh Monte, formerly for Lanier High School, Malik Newman for Callaway High School, and Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, formerly known as Chris Jackson, for Gulfport High School. It's unfortunate though because we can't fairly assess Abdul Rauf's career in totality because it was taken from him. Simply because he was exercising his First Amendment rights. Think about that. You see, there's a documentary out called Stand. It greatly details what he went through. And see, somebody who was living at that time as a child, I knew he was cold. I knew he was there, then he was gone. But in real time, I wasn't aware of what was going on, how crazy it was. So if you like me, you need to go watch that. Watch that documentary, Stand. It's on Showtime. Okay. Uh, if you haven't watched it yet or you don't have access to that, I'm gonna go through just some of the highlights of it and further explain to y'all what I've said before. The NBA be on some fake ass woke shit. They try to act like they're so progressive. They try to act like they are the league they're so different from the NFL. The NFL is a has a plantation mentality, but not the NBA. Bullshit. Before Kaepernick was thought of, y'all did Mahmoud Abdul Rauf like this. Come on, man. All this other shit, performative gestures. When it came down to it, look what y'all did to the Mississippi Goat. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's start out with the fact that this man was so excellent at the game of basketball while having Tourette syndrome, which is a neurological condition that will cause him to have they kept calling it ticks and little, jerks and stuff like that. You gotta be an athlete, you using your body. It made him be kind of obsessively compulsive. He had to get things right. The ball got to go through the net. Everything got to be perfect. Otherwise, you got to start over. That shit actually made him work harder. Grew up in utter poverty, not knowing his father. That man crying about that shit fucked him up. Still bothers him to this day. But that motherfucker was cold. Now, OGs try to tell him, like, I coached against Malik Newman. I watched Monte Ellis live. Okay. So I was one of those guys that would say those cats because I had a chance to really see them live and in person, right there in my face. Uh, and they both were great, but the OG would tell me all the time, "Oh man, Chris Jackson, man, Chris Jackson, Chris Jackson, Chris Jackson." My brother-in-law, you tell Chris Jackson, man, Chris Jackson. And I see now that boy, whew, he was already being discussed When he was in middle school, he could dunk in middle school. He was on like 6'1" or something like that. You get on to high school, just an example of his greatness as a shooter. They used to have, free throw drills at the end of practice, how everybody does. He made 283 straight free throws. Go out there and shoot free throws. See if you can make 5 straight, 10 straight. It's tough. You got to, have your routine down. Motherfucker made 283 straight free throws. He was a state champion. He was number 1 guard in the country. Okay, so that's Monte, Malik. Okay. Monte and Malik had that. Mississippi folks know what I'm talking about. Say he went to Nike camp and crossed up Michael Jordan at the Nike camp. And y'all know Mike, my boy. But I believe Mahmoud. Because he had that tap too. He wasn't just a shooter. He had some wiggle to him. He had a tap to his game. And we saw no greater evidence of this than when he went to college. Now, he only spent 2 years at LSU, but goddamn, what a 2 year. He scored 53 points versus Florida on the road as a freshman. He holds the all-time freshman scoring record of 30.2 points per game. And he did all this while on medication that made him gain weight. Like he said in the doc, he's like, what if I was in shape? Shit. And mind you, this ain't the one and done era. So this ain't, well, you got freshmen coming in and automatically they the best players on the floor. No, this is when guys were still staying at least 3 years. Like Michael Jordan coming out in 3 years, people were frowning on that. This man was coming in busting folks' ass as a freshman. He scored 50 points 4 times in his 2-year career. You know how crazy that is? KD, one and done, freshman, phenom, didn't do nothing like that. Carmelo didn't do no shit like this. You know what I'm talking about? And he did the 50-point thing over 2 years. But I'm just saying, the way he came in as a freshman, averaging 30. KD, Melo, them boys wasn't cutting up like that. In the one and done era, Zion, shit was different. In his sophomore year, got Shaq up in there. So now you got Shaq, you got Stanley Roberts, but the man on the team was still Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. And this is in the era where bigs were everything. And you got an all-time big and Shaq coming in as a freshman. Still him. The level of focus he had to have to go through some of the bullshit. When he came back to play against Mississippi State, they up in there waving the Confederate flag and shit and chanting, "Who's your daddy?" And he got 40 on him. But see, his life started to change when Dale Brown, his head coach, gave him the autobiography of Malcolm X. You hear so many folks say that book changed your life. Changed mine. It was one of those things. I couldn't put it down, just like he said. I'm telling you, go read it. From start to finish. Don't just start it. Got to finish it. You will see the evolution of a man. Okay? Highly, highly, highly recommend that book. But it changed his life. Okay? He ended up getting drafted 3rd after his sophomore season. Again, they wasn't doing a lot of this back then. But that man was from that shit. He from struggle. So he said, fuck this, I got to go leave. Many critics said he still should have stayed in college, I should say. And he did struggle his rookie year. He was overweight. Then you playing in Denver, Colorado, that altitude was fucked up. But he said he became a Muslim after his rookie season. Eventually, by his 3rd season, he lost the weight, and then he started going off. Got most improved player. We hit 19 a game in a league. It is tough to do that. Like he's one of the reasons I think Steph would have been able to play then. The greats can play in whatever era. Okay. But it was tougher. Okay. Because you still got real bigs down there. You still got the guys like Elijah Warren and Patrick Ewing and David Robinson down there in that paint. You got Charles Barkley, you got Karl Malone. You still got bigs for real. Okay. So it ain't like the lane just wide open. But fuck all that. He can get to the lane still, and he can show enough shoot that thing from the perimeter. He changed his name from Chris Jackson to Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, doing his Hajj to Mecca, the holy pilgrimage to Mecca. But then that flag stance came. He talked about the flag being a symbol of oppression and tyranny. And to many people throughout the world, they do view it like that. If you learn the real history of our country, and I ain't saying you got to go look up no conspiracy theory video, just read a standard textbook. Read one of the textbooks I had to teach out of. And here in the state of Mississippi, it's there. You'll see how we stripped the land from the Native Americans. You'll see how enslaved Africans were brought over here. You'll see how we kicked the Queen of Hawaii off her throne and to debo that shit. You'll see how we going around the world doing some fucked up shit. What we did in the Philippines, what we did in Vietnam. We've done some fucked up shit. And he really was educating himself and learned about a lot of this fucked up shit we did. And so that was the stance he chose to take. See, I think a lot of people just accept things or just go with the flow when it comes to a lot of the stuff that our country does to brainwash us to take our individualism away from us. Think about this. And I do this exercise with students all the time. Ask your child or check yourself and ask yourself, do you know the meaning of every word in the Pledge of Allegiance? Because when I do this with children, they can recite it. They've been reciting it since they were children. But then when I go back and I say, okay, I'm going to stop you at every word in which I think y'all might not know what it means. And then we work through pledge. What are you doing when you make a pledge? You're promising. I pledge allegiance. Allegiance. What are you pledging when you say you pledge allegiance? Oh, that I'm going to be loyal. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic. What's a republic? One nation under God, indivisible. What does it mean to be indivisible? Do you think America is indivisible? With liberty and justice for all. Do you think America grants liberty and justice to everybody? Like this is the exercise I do. Then by the time I get to the end of it, it never fails. Kids be like, "Oh, that's what I was saying." Oh, I don't know about that. Because they've just been taught to say this shit. And not to question anything, just go with the flow. So the fact, and we have that right. We're supposed to have that right, right? It's in the Bill of Rights, First Amendment. And then they tell you that the veterans they fought for you to have those rights. So some motherfucker mad at what I'm saying. Well, hell, I should be able to say that, right? Here's my father's Marine ring. Does this buy me the right to say what the fuck I'm saying? That Americans should have the right to question their government, to question our cultural practices. That if that man didn't want to stand for the anthems, that ain't what he did play. He there to play basketball. He should have had that right. Does this give me the right to say what I'm saying? I stand, by the way. I told y'all why I stand. I told you, these motherfuckers ain't finna tell me this ain't my shit. Good or bad, fucked up shit. Because black folks, we participated in all the wars they've had. So we participated in some of the fuck shit that has been done. Our tax dollars then went to some of the fuck shit that's been done. And I don't know no other land. It's my shit. And if I choose to leave this bitch, I'm leaving my shit. But I ain't finna criticize Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf for not standing. Wow, fuck that. I'm dead. I ain't finna criticize Colin Kaepernick for not standing. I get it. Just like I won't criticize a kid if they don't want to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I get it. I totally get it. But many didn't get it. Some athletes spoke out against him, some just stayed silent. Eventually, he stood down uh, and stood up for the anthem, but he prayed. Said he was going to pray during the thing. You could see him visibly praying during the anthem. And the fans still booed him. And this was at against the Bulls. So I'm wondering how is Mike and Scott and them boys feeling, all the black players on the Bulls, when they see these fans up here booing this black man because he's praying. You're booing him while he's praying, and you're booing him while the national anthem is being played, which you said you don't like people disrespecting the national anthem, but you're booing during the motherfucking national anthem. He faced death threats. He faced vandalism. Eventually, the Nuggets traded him. And they had a black head coach and GM by the name of Bernie Bickerstaff. Still traded him to the Kings. The Kings stopped giving him playing time. He started, get down on himself, just stopped working hard. Then his play slipped. Eventually, he ended up going overseas. Cause he's like, fuck y'all, low ball offer. Came back to the Vancouver Grizzlies. Built his home in Kiln, Mississippi. Did y'all know that's the hometown of Brett Favre? Can't make this shit up. The white supremacists in that area terrorized Mahmoud's home that he was building. Say somebody drove a truck into it. Somebody spray painted KKK on it. And eventually they just burned it down. That was in 2001. Then you got 9/11 that happened. And then after that, they stuck a microphone in his face, asked him about that. And he had questions about it. He said it wasn't a war on terrorism, it was a war on Islam. And that he wasn't sure if Osama bin Laden was behind it or not. Now, I do believe Osama bin Laden was behind it. We have plenty of evidence showing that. But I don't fault anybody for questioning the government when it comes to our reasons for going to war. We've seen historically where our government basically would make up some shit or lie about some shit so we can go to war, or start some shit themselves and blame it on the other folks so that we can go to war. Read the book Presidents of War by Michael Beschloss. Beschloss, I should say. I'm sorry. Great book. One of the best books I've ever read. Okay. And it did exactly what I like a book about war to do. I like to know, why did we go to war? What was the decision making like during the war, and what were the ramifications of the war? I don't need all this shit about the battles and what guns. I don't need all that shit. I need to know the thinking about how the hell did we end up going into something to take other people's lives in mass like this? And what were the ramifications of it? And that book does that. And in so many of the damn wars, you see it was some trumped up shit. Well, take Vietnam, for instance, because I mentioned that before. Read about take Vietnam, for instance, as I mentioned that before. Read about the supposed attack on a American destroyer battleship in the Gulf of Tonkin. Read about that. Or read about the Spanish-American War, where allegedly the Spanish destroyed one of our ships, the Maine, USS Maine, in Cuba. That didn't happen. That was bullshit. So if somebody is knowledgeable, it makes sense to question what the fuck happened. It makes sense. Hell, if 9/11 seems like that was indeed Al Qaeda, but we now know that the war in Iraq was bullshit because Iraq had nothing to do with that shit, and they had no weapons of mass destruction. So maybe he was just questioning the wrong thing. But still, in this country, you got the right to do that. Now, true enough, he ain't go to prison behind none of this. And that's really what that Constitution is about. It's telling you what the government can and cannot do. It doesn't govern public perception. And it was public perception. It was the media. It was the fans. It was the owners. It was the GMs. It was the fellow players that led to him getting blackballed, as some like to say whiteballed from the league. But I'm glad that that king stood. I'm sure that his son, who's now a basketball player at Gulfport High School, Amir, I'm sure his son is proud of his father for standing for something, standing on his principles. I know it cost him a lot of money. I hope he can get that money back through this documentary, through books, through his speaking engagements that he's on now, through his training. Shit, wouldn't you love your child to be trained by this man? A man so attentive to detail, a man with great character, a man who's passionate about humanity. I think when we start talking Mississippi Goat, whether you're talking Monte, Malik, or Mahmoud, when you add in that piece there, it might not be even close. So shout out to you, King, the Mississippi Goat, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. And shout out to all y'all real ones out there. This concludes episode 141 of the realest, most entertaining sports show in the game. Put it on something, okay? Like I say all the time, please follow me across all social media platforms. Put your people on it. Become an official member of the channel. Feel free to hit that cash app. Those of y'all that have, I greatly appreciate y'all. It's a weird feeling that I say, dang, I said something that made them want to contribute in that way. It's still a weird feeling. You feel me? Because I've been this person for so long, since I became a teacher. And then even through this business, I've been the same person. Uh, but never had people support me in the way that y'all have been. You know what I'm saying? My students loved me, but they didn't have the means, to donate to me and like that. They did small gestures. Some of them did. And I love them, to my. But I'm telling you, I don't know who's on the other side of that screen, but I love you too. Real talk. I appreciate you. To my. But just continue to stay down with us as we continue to grow. You feel me? As always, one.
Thank you so much for watching my daddy's YouTube channel. Make sure you like, share, and turn on your post notifications. Okay, how do I do it?